Today I've got a full in-depth guide to tiling this bathroom, covering the entire process from start to finish, from preparation and self-levelling to the walls and floor. It's packed with loads of tips and tricks I've learned over the years for installing large format tiles. Let's jump into it. Welcome back guys, another day, another bathroom. And this week I've got these nice 1200 by 600 marble effect porcelain tiles, 10mm, it's pretty standard, with a nice kind of satin effect on them, and I'll try and match some of that grain up if I can. The shower area here is all tiled, nothing on these walls, they're all wood panelled, which is nice. And you can see on the plan there what's what. There's a little pillar over here, toilet, shower, and we've got this left hand wall here. 1200 by 600s are a nice size tile, you won't get too many joints, and the setting out and fixing should be pretty straightforward. Now the first thing I'll do with any bathroom when I come into it is have a look at the walls and see how they are. And in this bathroom, they're not too bad at all. So that's the first thing I would do. If there was any issues with them, like bumps, divots or anything, I'd sort that out at this stage before I do anything. I've got plenty of videos on my channel of how to go about that. So that's step one. The next thing to do is to identify the main wall. And in this bathroom, it's pretty obvious with this wall straight in front with the niche in it. That is the main feature of the bathroom. So when you're looking around, really that you want centered whichever way. I mean, with big tiles, there's always an argument that you want it to continue around the room, but with the recess kind of in the center of the wall, that's where your main focus is going to be. So you can see I've already got a line here, and I'll show you in a sec my theory behind that, but that's what I'll be concentrating on. Because these tiles are 1200, it'd just be a cut off a tile on both these sidewalls, nothing really too major to set out there. So this recess isn't exactly in the centre of the wall, it's about 2 centimetres different. So I'll just measure pillar to pillar, and that's my centre mark here running down the wall. Then I've got two choices whether to split the tile, as they're 1200 would be centre of the tile, would be 600 either side, or go either side of the line, which would be a cut off. Now straight away you can see that if I split the middle of the tile, this is where my tiles run up that niche here, so that would be a pretty shocking cut. Unless I reduce the niche in size a bit to like somewhere like that, but the customer wants quite a big niche, so I'm not going to do that. And obviously here, because this, what's this? That's 100. The only downfall is if I did have the tile in the centre there, that would look like it's wrapping around, but for not changing the recess, I'm just going to go either side of the line. That would just be a tile cut, and then that's pretty self-explanatory there. So that is pretty much the lengthwise set out. It's pretty straightforward. All of this is easily cuttable. I've drawn around the shower control here, so I know what my tolerance is there. That would just be a valve pipe. So there's nothing too major here. Now regarding the height, the first thing I look at is the bottom of this sill on this niche. To me, this will make cuts around it a lot easier. I won't have to L-shape everything if I can start full tile somewhere around the bottom of this niche, as long as it works out to the floor and to the ceiling. So that's the first thing I'd look at when I come in. And on this one, on the plan, this has got marble on it, so I don't need to bring the tile above to reverse the trim. You'll know that in a lot of my videos, I'll do it on these anyway because there's not marble, I'll overhang the tile so the trim goes this way, so you only see the thin line, which is just a nice detail. On this one there's a marble slab on top, so I can just take a level point. I would just get wherever this is level, because they're not always going to be perfect. So up here it's lower, so this would be the mark here that I'd take it off of, and I'd work down from there. Now you can see I've already pre-cut some bottom cuts, so don't muck about with things like batten or things like that. Just lay a couple of tiles out with some spaces, get yourself a mark, and then put it on your mark there, a mark at the bottom for your line. make sure you, if anything, allow yourself to be slightly high. You don't want to tile up from the bottom and end up a couple of millimetres short of this. So if anything, make sure that you give yourself a couple of millimetres so you're higher. So I'll show you down here. So I've basically done a mark, drawn my line. My line will be showing here. This is where I know where I need the tiles to go. I've got my centre line going down the wall. So I've pre-cut both these bottom cuts so I can get them in first and then just work up. This recess, I can move it a little bit. Like I say, it's not actually, it's about 2 centimetres different between edge to edge. So I will bring this in so both sides look symmetrical. And say that's the cut to the bottom and my cut to the top is just a little bit off up there. So it all works out pretty well. And that will mean around this niche here, I'll only have an L cut there and an L cut there. So nothing too major. And like I say, this one on the left is pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to have a valve at the top there and ditto with the toilet hole. And the only other thing is when we come to do the trim on here, we want to overhang by tiles width. And the trim will face like that, say same on the top, that's marble. And on this pillar here, we want to keep it the same. So we don't want the trim going this way. We want the trim facing this way, which means we'll either have to tile this first or overhang this, put the trim in, then tile that afterwards. Then everything is symmetrical and facing the same way. So that's the walls. And then the floor, I've had a quick look at, and this is a very old house. And you can see already I've started putting some packers down where this floor is absolutely all over the place. So the highest point is over here by the tray. It's going to be quite tricky for me because I've got to try and finish a couple of millimetres below this tray for a silicone line so it just all flows in. But luckily that is the highest point, so all the building up is out here and it goes over there, 16 mil over there, that's out of level. So there's going to be quite a bit of self-levelling going on over in this part of the floor, and then I'm going to try and get a uncoupling mat on top as this floor is a little bit bouncy. Not too bad, but I think it'd be safer because we've got the same tiles on the floor. It needs to be flat and level. Keep tuned until later to see how that turned out, but first the walls.
Like I said before, the walls are pretty good, so I'll just be going with a 6mm trowel on the wall and a 10mm trowel on the back of the tile, spreading in the same direction, and that gives a nice bonding connection. Because we've got large format tiles, you'll normally find there's a concave in it, so you want to make sure you've got a good bond with the adhesive. So that's the plan for the walls. And we'll be using the Bihui levelling clips just to sort out any tile lippage along the way. And the tile trim for this one is going to be a Genesis brushed brass, which should go with the controls over there pretty nicely. And like I say, you'll just see the fin side around the recess and on the pillar over there. But that should just add a nice bit to the bathroom. And if you wanted to use my tile app for setting it out, then you just measure the horizontal and vertical of the 3 walls, measure the size of the niche or recess, put all that info into the app, and then you can see exactly how the tile set out would work and move it around. Again, it's just an easier way sometimes of setting out. For these tiles it's not too bad, but if you had small tiles it's great for them kind of things. So I'm all set to go. I've got a bucket for mixing, a bucket of water and a sponge. I'll be using the trusty Balfour X1 medium set adhesive. These walls are backer board, so you don't need to do anything to them. They're the best substrate you can tile onto as well. And my Ruby mix is finally packed up, so I'll be giving the Bihui mixer a go today. And I've got my base camp trusty dust mask on for knocking up. Right, let's go. And another little tip, if you've got a hole in your bucket, get some gaffer tape. I remember this bucket had a big hole in it. About 5 litres of water in this bag, roughly. Something like that. See why it's good to wear a dust mask with this as well. Yeah, nice. I'll just take these tiles out now. I've got my line, so I'm going to spread on there, spread the back of the tile. Use the bucket for the tile. And let's get some tiles on the wall. Okay, so it's good to have your sponge at the ready for this. And have a couple of tile wedges, and spacers are great for wedging up the tile. I've left a couple of mil underneath just for movement and silicone that go underneath there eventually as well. So I'll put some wedges underneath and wedge the tiles up to the line. So let's get the 6 mil on the wall first. Just leaving a couple of mil to my line so I can see it easily. Go left-handed if you're really brave. Don't be afraid to use the nose of the trowel when you need to as well. Just top up this side and then that's good. Nice, that's good enough. So, same thing now with the tile, just spread it in the same direction with the 10 mil trowel. Put it on the trowel on the tile, spread it first. Just get some on there and you can just neaten it out. Cool, that's good. So, let's turn you back to the wall. Let's get our first tile on. So we've got our line here, so we want to be either side of it. So, as usual, push and wiggle, collapse the ridges, get a good connection. Nice, and then let's just give that a wipe underneath. And then we can just put our little wedges in temporarily for now. Let's sort it out properly in a minute once we get the other tile on, but just get it somewhere near your line and we'll level it up and stuff in a sec. Right, I'm just going to repeat that for the second tile. Okay, here comes the left one. Again, let it push and a wiggle, get a connection, give it a nice clean up. Make sure the joint is always clean. And again, just get it roughly into place with some wedges. Something like that. Make sure it's either side of the line. 2 mm space up in between the joint. And then use the level to make sure it's pretty good this way. Once you get this next tile on, because this is quite a smallish strip, you'll straighten it out a bit more with this. But you're just getting it roughly in place for now, but that's pretty good. Get it level though for now on the bottom row. So level on top, make sure you're on your line, and just move your wedges to meet the bottom of the level. So you shouldn't see any daylight, if you like, underneath the level. The level should be sitting right on the tile, and then you know you're good. That's pretty decent. And then for that joint, we can just put a little leveling clip in there to hold that together. Put it in and turn. I won't tighten it up too much for a minute, but that's all pretty good. So that's our bottom row done, as easy as that. That's why you don't need any batten or stuff like that. You just put your bottom row in and then work up. So now, the best thing to do here for the next row, if I can find my tape measure, is we know the tiles are 600 or 59.5 to be accurate. Allowing a 2 mm joint, it'll be about there. We can just draw a line. This is mainly for spreading through there. And that will give us something to spread to for our whole neck section. Doesn't need to be crazy accurate, it's just the adhesive. There or thereabouts. Nice, and you can even draw it onto that other wall to save you marking it later. There we go, so now I've got a line, I can spread all of that. Do the exact same thing with this left and right tile. Just make sure you go down to your bottom tile like that with your trowel as well. Just try and get as much coverage as possible. Okay, so I've got the right one spread up in the same direction as the wall again. And I'll just put that into place. A couple of spaces underneath it. Pretty good. And I'll just show you the magic of levelling clips here. So that's quite a big lip there. It's quite hard to see on the camera. Now you can probably hear it. So this is the difference a levelling clip makes. If I can do this one-handed. There it is. There we go. So I just get a couple in here. This is a problem with large format tiles, is they will generally always be bowed. So now, we are now pretty much lipless. We need one in here, but here where we were, now we're nice and smooth. And that's the difference a levelling clip makes, especially with a large format tile, just to get no lips and everything nice and smooth. Right, we get another levelling clip in there. Let's get the left one in, and then we'll straighten the whole thing up. Make sure it's all nice and level, and where we want it. You've got about an hour's working time with this adhesive as well, so there's no mega rush here. Go to spaces again. And you can now use the spacer properly in that joint and remove the other two. I'll get some levelling clips in it, just get that joint nice and clean. Not going to do them up too tight yet. I'm just going to get them there or thereabouts, because I'll probably need to move the tiles a little bit just to get them all where they need to be. Same thing down here, I just pull that lip right out. Nice. Okay. So next I will make sure it's flat across. I want to make sure it's level going up, which that looks pretty damn good. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And then lastly, we want to make sure it's level on the top. And again, that's good. And I'll just show you with the camera what I'm talking about underneath the level. So, well, it's good to make sure your level is. For this one, yeah, that's wet adhesive, right? So So even though like that, your level's reading pretty much spot on, you want to look underneath and make sure the tiles are touching. So on this one here, it looks like it could be in the tile, but it may just need to come up 1 millimetre on the right hand side here, just so all the tile is perfectly touching. Then you know you're dead accurate. You are working with millimetres tiling, so 1 millimetre here or there can throw you out all over the place. So especially on this bottom row, your first row, just make sure that that is all good, and then you don't have to worry about it after that. You can just tile away on top of it. And the other thing you can do here, if you've started at the bottom and you're a bit worried about your height, is grab an offcut. This bit's a bit big, but bearing in mind this will have a spacer in it as well. And then you can see by the time I've put my 2mm spacer on it, I'll probably just be a little, well, it'll be pretty much on it, but maybe just 1 millimetre above it. But you can just check before you go too far to make sure you're hitting where you want to be. So I'm just going to wedge that bit up a bit. I'll just get that right hand side up to make sure it's on the level, and then we'll look at these cuts around these shower controls. Okay, so both these cuts are actually pretty straightforward. The first thing to do is to cut the tile to size. You've got your lines marked to there. I'd always give it some play, so give it 5mm or something, because that tile will cover it. So I'll cut the tile to size. We've drawn around the covering plate here, so we can just use our centre line to mark. So we just mark a box on top of the tile. We can just go in a little bit, like here we can go to 30 centimetres, and over here like 41 times. So we'll be basically cutting a hole here. All this can be covered here, that's fine. And again, make sure you can see on there, yeah. We'll use the bottom of the tile, you put a spacer underneath that, but we've got plenty of coverage on this particular one. You can just say mark there, and we'll transfer that onto the tile, then we'll have a square box. And we'll do exactly the same with this pipe here. So I'll just go and cut the tile and I'll show you that in action. Okay, that's our bit of tile. So let's just put them marks on it now. So (41), let's just put that 41 and 30, so we'll just go off the edge of the tile and around there somewhere. So 30, 41, right there somewhere, say 30. And say these have, well, this one particular has quite a big flange plate, so it's all quite covered, so you don't need to go super tight. We call that 26 and 23. 26, 43, 26. And then just connect it all up. Nice. So that is our shower valve. So I've got plenty of videos on cutting square holes out, but I'll just go around it with the angle grinder on the face there, then I'll flip the tile over. Because of the round blade you won't be able to get the corners, then you just finish it off on the back till you see daylight coming through. But I'll leave some links in the description to all my cutting videos, but I'm just going to go and whip that out now, and I'll probably mark the left hand side and do that exactly the same. The only difference, this one I'll still do a square box, but I'll use a hole cutter for it, so we've got a nice hole around the pipe. Okay. Nice. Level clips in.
So same as the shower valve here, I'm just marking a box for my hole cutter to take out for the pipe. Then that goes in nicely. If you've got end caps on your pipes, then 30mm is normally a good size hole cutter. Then I just follow the same methods, push the tile in with a wiggle, give it a nice clean, add my 2mm spacers to the joint and finish it off with some levelling clips. Then I just do a final check for flatness and level. I want to make sure the tiles are nice and flat, as when you're going around the top of the niche, it will make connecting up the tiles a breeze. Then just using my rubber mallet for some final adjustments.
Nice, and then for these L cuts, we just want to make sure this recess is centred up. So that does, and there, there. So I'll put some more backer board on this side to bring this recess out to this line, and then the tile will overhang by the tiles width and a little bit of adhesive, so about that far, about 10 to 12mm on both sides, and that will account for the trim going in the reverse side. So I'll cut these L cuts now and then show you putting them in.
So first up, just measuring a tile and a joint, I mark my tape and draw a spread line at the top. Then I'm just checking how level the side pillar is for where I'm going to come off of. Then I'll just mark back from the tile to the pillar, leaving about 12mm for the overhang. And as we are keeping the niche centred to the tiles, I can use the same measurement for the right side as well. Same as the bottom, I just find the lowest point of the top of the niche to come off of, and I just mark that with an arrow. With a spacer under the tape, I'll just mark up to that point, once again leaving myself about 12mm short for the overhang. So now I have two measurements that I can use for both L cuts, so everything's symmetrical. After cutting the tile to size, I mark and cut the L shape and give it a check. I'm happy, so I can go ahead and fix that in. Again, making sure it's nice and flat with the bottom of the niche. Level clips in and a whack into the right place, then I repeat that process for the left hand side. Leveling clips are really good here to hold everything into place nicely across the top of the niche. As we use the same marks, and as long as the cutting is good, it should all finish nice and parallel. And there we go, that's all come out really good, and you can see all the overhangs ready for the tile trim. So I mark and cut the top tile trim first, as once the sides go on last, they hold it all up like a frame. And that can go straight in, as there is adhesive on the back of the tile. I clean the back, give it a bit of adjustment, and then I can mark and cut the two sides the same. You can miter these if you want, but for me, by the time the silicone goes into the corners, I don't see much point for what you see.
Okay, nice, that's the trim all done now. I've just overlapped it by about 1mm, just because that tile's a little bit chippy there. They're not the best tiles for angle grinding these, but because this one's got epoxy grout, just leaving a little bit of a lip because that will fill it up nicely. It'll be a colour match as well. Once you've done this, just if you clean the back with your finger or a sponge, then you can just leave that now and come back to that whenever. As long as there's no adhesive behind the trim, then you can come back to it another day or whatever. Put the tiles and the back in. I'm going to leave the top now while that's drying and then just concentrate on this wall, but it's always nice to get to that stage because everything else is pretty straightforward, to be honest. So I'm going to get a couple of tiles up on this wall and go from there.
I'm using my fixed tile to come off of to draw a line for the bottom row here. The process will be the same, using the tape to mark the width and marking to the line with a bit of play for the height. I get that bottom cut in and then I can just add the other tiles on top.
And there we go, that's that side all tiled now as well, all the top cuts. So I'll move on to the boxing next. I'll probably do the face first, overhang the tile for the trim, then fill in the inside from there. Or maybe fill in the niche, but for today that would do. I'll come back tomorrow and finish the rest of this off. Okay, so it's the next day now, so all that would have gone off, so I can fill in above the top, get that wall done and finish the inside of the niche here and remove these levelling clips. Just twist these and it should still come out okay the next day. So yeah, get them removed and then I'll carry on. I've saved 99.9% of the levelling clips here, but just to show you when one doesn't want to come out, just tighten it up back to the tile with the black bit and then twist it on the blue tabs, and there we go, and you can just replace that end of it there. So that is all the levelling clips out.
Okay, for the top cuts, when using large format tiles, I normally like to go around marking each end of the tile, as it's very rare they'll all be the same. Then I'll just cut them all off as much as I can before fixing anything. This is good because it can help keep good momentum when tiling. Being in a good rhythm will make you much more productive. Once cut and before getting too excited about spreading adhesive, I just check them first, otherwise you can end up in a right mess. Then nothing different from before here, I'm just spreading up and getting them in. I'd probably recommend using a suction cup here for lifting heavy big tiles, as it can be a lot safer when you're not experienced at this. Especially when putting the corner cuts in, it's quite tricky with your fingers and the tile. These aren't as bad as they're a cut off a full tile, but when you do have a big piece, I'd definitely recommend it.
Okay, so these two are in now, and then I'll just mark this tile for size down here. Same thing again, mark a box for the shower valve, take that out, and I'll just put a little bit of trimming down the side here to finish the edge. Same as that, just so you see the thin side down there. And then that's the shower section done apart from the recess.
So just checking the hole before fixing, and I did have to take a bit out here to get past the valve screw on this one. Then once that's in, the trim just slots in, followed by a clean up to remove any adhesive spill. I'm just using my laser and marking the line here to keep the back of the niche lined up with the outside joint. Then it's a couple of cuts, and these can go in before the sides and top.
Actually managed to match up a bit of grain on that one. It's been quite hard on these tiles to actually match up the grain with where it is, but that one managed to get a bit on behind the niche there. There we go, I just used the laser there just to make sure that this is all in line, as there's marble going on the top there, but yeah, that's the back of the niche done, so on to that wall next.
First things first, I'm just checking the end of the pillar for level and bumps. The pillar and the wall both have bumps, so I mark where they are, as that's where I'll be bringing my line from, as they are the furthest points out, as I can just pack out the inside of the pillar when I come to tile it. I'm just using my Hooper laser here to help give myself an accurate line around the corner. Then I mark the beam. You can do this with a level, but if you've got a laser at hand, then it's a lot easier. This is how to mark a little notch L cut, by flipping around the tile and using your lines. Just don't do what I did here and actually have the tile around the wrong way to start with. The tile cut so well that was actually the rough edge at the top when it should have been the factory edge. So this cut went in the bin for a take two. Here is the bump I marked and transferred to the floor, and the second mark is the overhang I cut the tile to. Cuts for this toilet waste worked out pretty well. The bottom ones were just cut to the slot, then the second tile is just a small U shape. So using my tape, I just take some marks. With these back to the wall toilets, you've just got to make sure you're quite tight to the water feed. That's the yellow cover here. I normally try and leave about a 10mm gap max, as some toilets don't give you a lot of play. Okay, so I just cut that slot out with the angle grinder and give it a quick test before fixing. I'm happy, so I spread the wool and in it goes. Once again, just checking the level and for flatness all around, and adjusting anything I need to at this stage. Same as on the main wall, just make sure you're good before you start going up. The toilet flusher is cut exactly the same as the valve from earlier. I just removed the cover plate to draw some level lines around it with a bit of play. Then mark both ends of the tile to be cut, as the plastered wall is a bit wonky. To mark the length cuts of the flush plate, I hold up my level, as otherwise you'll be marking to thin air. I transfer the marks to the cut tile and remove the square with the grinder. I give it a quick check, then it can be fixed in place.
Okay, the bath flusher tile's all gone in nicely there. I've got a bit of play down the side of this wall because it's all got wood panels beside it, but I'll just get these next two up here, then get the trim on quite sharply, same as on the recess. Just before the adhesive starts to turn behind, then I can just leave that and not worry about it. If I needed to do it another day, it wouldn't matter, but I will get that done today. But you just want to get your trim on before this starts turning too much. You can get it in there nicely. So yeah, I'm going to get them two up, and then the trim will be my next job. And that'll just be marking from the shower tray to the ceiling with my metal cutting disc, just cutting it off.
And there we go, just using the 6 foot level there for any final checks. So I'm just marking the length of the trim here. It's a straight cut off, then I just push it into place against the tile.
There we go, that's the last bit of trim in there. I'll probably just tape that. I'll give that a push to get it beyond the tile in a sec, something stopping it. And then again, you can just wipe the back free. If you want to leave that, I'll do this in about an hour anyway, and just fill that in and get it done. But yeah, we're nearly there now.
So, bar the internals of the niche, that's the walls all done now. I just take that piece of trim to hold it nicely into place. Next, I'm going to turn my attention to sorting out the floor.
Okay, so day 3 now, so majority of the walls are all done. Just got the sides and the top of the niche to finish there. I'll get them leveling clips out in a bit, but my next concentration is this floor. And as I mentioned earlier, it's massively out of level. The highest point's over there. So you can see I've got loads of backerboard guides, basically some 10 and some 6 there. It's 16mm in them areas, so I'm just going to go around with a few more guides for the self-leveling, then use a rapid self-level which will go off in about an hour, so then I can hopefully get some Ditra uncoupling mat on top of it, then even start setting the floor out and maybe doing some tiling. So that'll be the next thing I'm going for, and I've just got to work out that this is going to be okay over here because the tile needs to finish just a couple of mils shy of this shout around this higher point. Luckily, where the floor is going this way, the tile's actually going to come in a bit more, so the nose will go down. So that's the only bit where I may have a bit of an issue. I may have to leave out a bit of Ditra in that corner there, but yeah, it's just annoying that the previous installers have self-leveled it quite a lot over the highest point there. But there we go, I'm sure we'll get over it. So that's the next job you'll see me getting on with.
I give the floor a quick prime to remove any dust and help adhesion in preparation for the self-leveling compound. Next up, using backerboard as packers, I'll go around sticking them so they are level with the highest point. I'm using a rapid set to stick them so they will go off quickly. I'm just using a range of 6 to 12mm backerboard, trying to add some guides to most sections of the floor. This will really help with the self-leveling.
And there we go, on this one I've put quite a few guides around because the floor's pretty bad, all various different sizes, and I've marked all the areas that are high, which I can't have any self-level on, so I can mix up some self-leveling now and get this floor straightened out.
I'm using the Kirikol Level Flex Ultra Rapid here. Like I say, it will set very quickly, so I wouldn't recommend rapid leveling compounds if you're not experienced with self-leveling, as you will get a very short working window. You'll even see with me I have to work extremely fast here to make sure it's going to be all good. When I mix up, I don't put the whole bag in at first, just so I can make sure the bottom of the bucket gets a good mix. Then I'll add the rest in as I go. I will also make sure the mix is slightly wetter than stated with self-leveling, as a stiff mix is an absolute killer. So with the first bucket mixed, I chuck it down at the back of the room as I'll be working my way out of the door, and get straight on with mixing up another bag. I want these batches to mix in nicely before they start setting, and I need to mix up a few bags as the floor needs a fair bit. Using the flat side of my notch trowel, I just start spreading the first lot around, getting it moving and start hitting the guide points. Then straight back to knocking up some more as quick as I can. Now with the third bucket, I can start topping it all up and working it where I need it. So again, just adding more until I hit the top of the guides, then I know I should be all good. Again, I'm having to work very fast here using a rapid self-lever to make sure these batches all mix together nicely. If you're using a medium set, the experience is a lot more nicer. It's a bit more chill, but I just need to get this done so I can get the uncoupling mat in on top of it. Then I just top up any final bits or areas where I just need a little, just making sure it goes to nothing in the areas that are high.
And there we go, I had to work pretty quick there as it's a rapid setting, so to get the next batch mixed into the next one, you've got to be on it unless you've got some big gorilla tubs to have a couple of bags knocked up. Now I've got a little bit left in my bag, so I'm going to save that till this is dry in about an hour's time. I mean, it looks pretty good with all the guide points, but it's always good to save a little bit. So if you've got an indent or need to fill something up a little bit more, it's easier to do it once you've got the bulk of it sorted first. So I need to have a big clear up now and then come back in an hour and see how she looks.
And putting a level around the floor, that is pretty damn good considering the state it was in. I just need to scrape the self-leveling off the top of the guides and that is good to go. Now I can get on with dry laying the Ditra mat. It's very easy to cut with some scissors or a knife, so I just get it all cut to size with a few measurements. And the reason I'm using this, along with its many other qualities, is it will help the integrity of the substrate under movement. It's quite a small floor in this bathroom, so there's not much to do, but once I've got it all laid out, I draw a spread line for later and just roll it up, ready to be stuck down. For sticking it, I use a Bell Rapid Set adhesive. What's different here though is it has to be mixed up very wet compared to normal, but still able to hold the notch of the trowel when spread. Otherwise it won't bond to the mat's fleece properly. Then just using a 6mm trowel, I just spread the patch, keeping the ribs in the same direction. Then it's just a case of putting the mat down and rolling it out. I go around with a quick stamp to start getting it fixed, then using my level I push down all over it to release the air and collapse the adhesive ribs. You can use a number of different methods for this, but I find it easiest with a level. I just repeat that process for the other sections, just butting the mats together. I stop for a quick stroke of the dog, then continue pushing the level around to finish. So that's pretty straightforward. We now have all the matting down and pretty much a perfectly level floor, which is great considering where we started.
Okay, so now the Ditra mat is down onto the floor set out. There's nothing too much to really set the floor out of. The floor tiles are going a different way to the wall tiles. So first thoughts is come a full tile off the tray, and I was just seeing there if I could get off the side that way and that way, but because the tiles are 595 and not 600, it ends about there, which is touch and go. I mean, this would probably have a wooden threshold, but obviously I really want the tile to come inside. So I think I'll probably budget all forward. This still won't be an L cut, it'll just be a bit off this tile here. So I'll probably just do that door cut first, just to make sure it all works out okay. That'll probably be my approach, I think, for the floor. You'll get 2 out of 1 down this side here, which is good. And then regards this shower tray lip, still not 100% sure, but I don't think there's any way I'm going to keep this tile below it. So I think I'll go the opposite way and have the tile 2mm above it this way with the silicone on this side. So it's still a flush finish through, but yeah, I'm going to get this door cut in, make sure it all works out, and then this should be pretty straightforward. And the Kirikol Fugolite Epoxy Grout has just arrived in these new 1.5 kilogram small tubs. It's a light grey colour which should match the tile nicely, and being in a small tub it'll be a bit easier to manage. I've just got a couple of tubs, so there won't be too much needed for this size bathroom.
For this door architrave cut, I just take a few various marks, then I can start to build the shape of what I need to take out of the tile. You can obviously multi-tool these as well, but as my multi-tool was in the van and I'm there sitting with a tile, I thought I'd go a bit old school here and mark the cutout. Especially as there's not really any major cutting on this bathroom floor, this is the only real cut to do.
And there you go, I just did that with a couple of marks, just marking back the tiles width from where it's going to sit back to here, and just taking a few tape marks there, just roughly drawing the shape at first, and then I could multi-tool this up. I think I'm just going to cut around this one, or ish anyway, so I'll just do that the same on both sides roughly, get it in thereabouts, and then mark it a bit more properly, but yeah, that should be about there. Right, that's actually not too far off actually. I can kind of see here what I need to take out and what I don't now a bit more accurately. So that where the pen is probably pretty good. That will slot in there, the distance to there is good. And then on this one, even though this side will actually go under, I'm going to take that off and then just draw that shape out, just because you'll normally find there's a few bits underneath the architrave that like to block the tile going in. So that just will make sure it just tucks inside, and then that should go in. But all this is all siliconed anyway, so whether it's cut around it or underneath, it'll look the same whichever way. As long as the tile goes in, there's enough clearance once the adhesive's on it. But yeah, and for this underfloor heating wire here, let's just take out a bit more here, because all this wall's got wood panel on, so there's plenty of play on the side. Right, I'll do that, and then I can lay these out, just make sure this is okay, and then get laying. Okay, that's all good to go. So before I take them up, I'll just draw a line down there. And there's a little bit more to take out of this bit here, and then that is good to lay down. And for this one, as I've got the tray here, I'll probably start actually from the door, work back, go in the tray, and then come around the room. It's just nice if I can get that one set where it needs to be and work back, because they're such big tiles. It'd be quite easy to work that way to stay square. So yeah, that'd be the plan. Get them three in, come around here, do this, and then fill out backwards. So for this first one, I use a bit of rapid set as well, so I can get on that in a couple of hours. So if I need to get across here and whatsoever, it just helped me out. So whatever rapid set I've got left here, I'm going to use, and I'll just use normal setting around the rest of the rim. So last thing to do here is just draw a line around this tile. So I have a spread line, I've got my line up there, which I marked off the other 3 tiles. So now I've got the area I need to spread in, so it's time to knock up some adhesive and go.
For fixing, I just use the flat side of the trowel to fill in the divots on the Ditra. Then I spread back over it with the 10mm notch. I spread the back of the tile with a 6mm trowel, keeping the ribs in the same direction. Then she's good to go in, using the exact same process as the wall tiles. The only thing I have to really make sure of here is the lip with the tile and the shower tray, and I need to keep that consistent through the floor.
So that's pretty damn good. That's nice and level across that way. We're pretty much spot on level across that way. And our lip here is perfect for the silicone. We're about 2mm above it, and that's exactly where we want it. So then this would be seamless by the time the silicone's in there. So we want to make sure we maintain that the whole way around here. This one will obviously be a cut here, so I have to rub it down with a stone because that's the factory edge, but the shower screen also will sit across here, so it's not that you'll see it that much, but we'll still rub it down as if the screen wasn't there. So now I can just continue down, get this floor down. Nice. Good thing with big tiles or large format tiles is they cover quite a bit of distance quite quickly, so by the time you've got 3 down, you're just filling in. So yeah, they can go down quite quickly as long as all the preparation's good, like getting the floor level and stuff. I'm pretty much just spreading and placing down, so pretty straightforward.
So this is why preparation really is key when tiling. Having a nice flat floor here speeds up the job and removes the stress levels. So I'd really recommend getting the prep sorted before laying any tiles. You can see here I'm just using my tape to mark cuts and just testing them before fixing. I dry cut this whole row again just to make things a lot easier when fixing.
Okay, nice. Just working my way down this final row now. It's a bit weird working from that way up and going around, but it kind of works all right with the, because I can step across the shower tray, and because I use rapid set on that tile, it means this is perfectly gone off the wall con now, which helps for coming in and out of the door. So got lucky with an L cut there. That wasn't planned, I must say, but the tile runs straight through it, so that's handy. So yeah, last couple to lay here. And then that is the floor done, and I've just got to do the bits inside the recess there, which I'll do afterwards, and that's all the tiling done in this bathroom.
So here it is, that's the floor all done. I was really happy with that. It came up super flat and I got some good flow of the tile grain. After that I just whipped the tiles in the internals of the niche, and you can see I just used some wedges to help keep the top tiles in place.
Okay, so the floor's all cleaned, all the levelling clips are out now, walls all cleaned up, ready to go. So now it's just on to the epoxy grouting. We've got our little pots of Curacao Fugolite here in a light grey, a couple of pots of them. We've got the detergent wash, which is all important for washing it off. Some gloves, old squeegee, drill and paddle to mix it up. And just my normal bucket trowel there, a couple of buckets of water, one for dirty, one for clean. So I'm going to get knocking up now and get this done.
I'll leave a link in the description to a full epoxy grouting tutorial, but having the wash off detergent makes it so much easier these days. And mixing up is pretty self-explanatory. You just mix the 2 compartments together and you're good to go. Now, if you thought I worked up a sweat self-leveling, this is a different level. With it being pretty stiff and having to work fast as the open time is quite short, it's pretty hard going. But never take your eye off the ball when you're grouting. You can do a really nice tiling job, then completely ruin it with bad grouting. So keep your concentration, even though it's nearly the end.
Okay, that's all going on nicely. It's obviously a lot stiffer to use than normal cement grout epoxy, but you just got to work it in, whether you use the nose and try and get as much off as possible. I've got about half a tub left in there, so I get all these walls on before I give them their first dirty wash. And then I'll probably move on to the floor, get that on, come back, give the raw clean wash, and then repeat on the floor. But yeah, this bucket should do all the walls, which is good. It's pretty straightforward, this one. And the colour's looking really good. Okay, that's all the grout on the walls there. So that's been about 20 minutes now. We don't grout any of the internals. That's all for silicone. But yeah, it's been about 20 minutes, so now it's time to start getting the dirty wash on, because you don't want to leave it too long because it'll be quite hard to remove. Once you've got the first dirty wash done, then it's pretty chill from there. You just come back and do the clean wash just to make it all nice and clean and get the remainder of the residue off. Nice, and you can see how much easier it makes it with that detergent in the water. It comes off pretty easy. I was just going to show you where I had these little chips on top of the trim before. You can see I've just feathered over it with the epoxy, and that will disappear into the grout. So yeah, looking good so far.
But yeah, my advice for the dirty wash is leave it about 20 minutes and that should be absolutely fine for not washing it out the joint and getting it off okay.
There we go, that's the dirty wash done. I've just put a few more bits in where it's a little bit low just to top it up, which I'll just leave a couple of minutes and wash off. But yeah, like I say, once you've got to this stage, you've got the majority of it off. You can just relax now and you can shape the joints a little bit more in the clean wash, but try and get them pretty good in the dirty wash. I mean, these are pretty smooth, but you can just correct them a little bit more once the actual epoxy grout starts to turn a bit. Good idea to have a couple of sponges for this as well. Once you do sort of one wash, your sponge will be absolutely toast, so have a nice new one or just another sponge for when you come and do the clean wash.
So, new sponge, it's been about 15 minutes and on to the clean wash. I'm using my second bucket of water now and I'm just removing the last of the residue and holding a flat sponge to make sure the joint is nice and smooth. I knock up my second tub of epoxy for the floor and repeat that whole process, and this was the final result. And that's another bathroom done, a really nice, bright, natural feel. I hope you like this more in-depth tutorial on installing large format tiles in a bathroom. And like I say, I'll leave links in the description for the tile app and anything not fully covered. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, it's completely free. Take care guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.